There are a lot of exciting releases coming out this year, and it's really hard to keep track of them, so I like to have a place where I can see them all. So this year on my channel, I'm doing quarterly releases. So here is our spring release. It's going to cover April, May, and June. And hopefully, because there's so many books, something like this will keep us accountable because I have too many books that I need to read. I need to be reading these new releases. I need to be reading those backlist books. I need to be reading everything because everything just sounds so good. But I have been using an app called Fable to help me do that. And thank you to Fable for sponsoring today's video. Fable is an all-in-one book tracking platform. It tracks your books, but there's also book clubs on it, which is one of my favorite things. And there's lots of fun stats that you can do on Fable. One of my favorite things is the reading streak. This helps me read every single day, and it's kind of like a game, which I really like to play little reading games with myself. My longest streak was 48 days. I did lose it, and I think currently I'm only at 5 days, but I need to get it. I need to beat that, so I have to be reading every single day, which obviously the more time I put aside for reading means I get to read more books, aka these new releases that sound really good. So I really, really love this aspect of Fable, and that we can also make a widget for it, and that way it reminds me that I have not set aside that reading time yet. There's also fun stats like your most read genre, your average rating, your most read authors, and there is a reader summary that is in beta mode right now, written in-house, that tells you a little bit about your reading. Currently mine says, your reading is a haunted blend of love, redemption, and supernatural twists. Inspired by your romantic reading list, you navigate fear and uncertainty with confidence, inspiring others during tough times. I love all of this. I love that I can change the color if I want. I can make it pink, blue, or green. It's really aesthetically pleasing, which other reading tracker apps are personally not. I love that Fable does weekly updates. It's constantly improving. It's listening to everybody, and I just love it so much, and it's really helped me read a lot more this year. And if you've never used Fable before, it is very easy to import your Goodreads library so that you can get started using this app. So use the link in my description to sign up for Fable and get that reading streak going. And once you've got it, I need you to come back and let me know what it is. I need us to all try and beat each other's streaks. A little friendly competition. And that way we can read all the new releases that I'm about to talk about. I need to move a little bit this way so that we have room for the books. And if you see me looking down, my laptop is down here. We're starting off with a thriller. Thriller's not my usual go-to, but I've really been enjoying a good thriller these days, and for me a good thriller is probably fast-paced and slightly unhinged. So on April 1st we have The Last Session by Julia Bartz. This is the same author as The Writing Retreat. Honestly, I don't really know a lot about this one. I just know that I really enjoyed The Writing Retreat because it is what I just said. It's fast-paced, it's a little unhinged, and I just had a lot of fun with it. I read it in one sitting. It was a great time. It's a locked room thriller about a social worker who, after coming face to face with her dark past, must infiltrate a mysterious wellness center in the deserts of New Mexico. I do know that we're going to a monthly retreat in this one again, which I just think is funny. Obviously the author likes retreats, but I like to read about them, so it really works for me. I'm intrigued. I don't like to go into my thrillers knowing too much. That's probably a little bit too vague, but I'm very excited for this one. I'm hoping it's going to be just as fun as the last one by her. On April 8th, we have a few books. The first one is the end of the Powerless trilogy, which is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is a YA Hunger Games-esque story. We're following a character who is powerless in a world where that means you are murdered, essentially. So she's hiding it, but she accidentally ends up in these specific trials that the king puts on every single year to determine who is the best and get glory and money. And so she has to hide the fact that she's powerless there, and she definitely bites off more than she can chew in it. I think this is fun. The banter in this is some of my favorites. I'm looking forward to seeing how this will wrap up for sure. So that's really exciting for me that we get this, as I loved Powerless. It was one of my favorite books the year I read it. Another sequel, we have Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. This is technically a standalone sequel. It's kind of more like your romance novels where they're companion novels in a series. We have met the main character, the female character of Enchantra in Phantasma, which was the first book. Phantasma follows the older sibling, and this one's following the younger sibling. I loved Phantasma. I really liked the vibe and the writing in it, so I'm very excited for this one. I'm assuming that if you read Enchantra first, you're gonna spoil the ending of Phantasma, but I'm also assuming you probably could read this one if you're not interested in Phantasma, since they are technically companion novels. They're both gothic, they're paranormal. This one says, Ready or Not meets Throne of the Fallen in a spicy enemies to lovers fantasy romance where an Italian getaway turns deadly after a young woman is trapped in her host family's cursed game. We're gonna have games and trials. I think it's gonna be very similar vibes to what Phantasma was, but new characters, and that has me excited. If I can fall in love with these two characters again, I think I will really like that. I loved the pacing of Phantasma. I loved the writing style, the atmospheric style. So I think us Phantasma fans are going to be very excited for this one. And then also on April 8th, we have Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes, which is a sci-fi thriller, sci-fi horror. This will be the third book I've read from this author, and I'm always intrigued by her concepts. I think they sound so good. This blends the dystopian dread of Severance with the catastrophic approach to AI from Megan. Haley is on the run from a political scandal that has put a huge target on her back, and she thinks this is the perfect place to lay low. A spaceship full of people in Cairo sleep. It's all like Earth's most wealthiest citizens. The ship and its Cairo program are long defunct, but Haley starts to think she sees figures crawling in the hallways, and there's a constant scraping, slithering, and rattling, echoing sound in the vents. It's not long before Haley realizes she may have gotten herself trapped in an even more dangerous situation than the one she was running from. I just think the atmosphere vibes that could be created in a book like this sound so good. I love a good sci-fi horror. And on April 15th, we have A Trial of Bronze and Blood. This says Gladiator meets Heartless Hunter meets Bloodguard in this new adult fantasy romance. 4 deadly trials will reunite them. One secret will tear them apart. I love those taglines. I'm a comp girly. I know some people hate trope marketing and hate comp marketing. I love it. I love it so much, so these get me. Drusilla Valerius has been loyal to the faithless in the fight against the tyrannical Imperium since they found her beneath the rubble of her village as a child. A mission goes wrong and ends with her best friend dead, and she's rescued by someone she never expected to see again, a man who turned down her feelings 6 years ago. And the only person who's ever defected from the faithless, despite his claims otherwise. Marcus should have known that Drew wouldn't have been the same woman he left all those years ago, and he's unprepared for her distrust of him and her uncanny ability to kill. But he has a purpose for seeking her out. Bound by loyalty, he convinces her to train King Cato of Anziano, one of the last countries yet to fall to the tyrannical Imperium, in the Valarium blood trials. Drew and Marcus both end up finding themselves joining the competition, Drew to take place of an innocent and Marcus to protect the king, and they're forced to trust each other with one's lives. But Marcus carries a devastating secret, one that could destroy the foundations of Drew's world, her deepest beliefs, and both of their hearts. This sounds really good to me. It is a adult romantasy, it's a debut story, and it's also a second chance romance. This one's more for you guys than for me, but we have Watch Me coming out, which is a return to the Shatter Me universe. It's set 10 years after the fall of the Reestablishment. I have not read Shatter Me, so I think I need to do my work and go read those first, but I still wanted to share it because I'm excited for this. I kind of wish I could just jump in here, but I'm not 100% sure I can, so I might have to wait for reviews, but I probably should go back and read Shatter Me since it's such a loved series. I'm not gonna read what's happening because I think it is probably a spoiler to the other series, so I'm not reading the synopsis, but this has a tagline at the end that says, "Who are we when no one is watching?" And I love that, and that makes me want to read this book so badly. It's also dystopian, which is one of my favorites, and I'm just excited. I love when authors pick it up and do like things set later on with like new characters. I'm not sure if that's what this is, but that's what I'm hoping it is, even though I haven't read Shatter Me. I sometimes just love a world that was created and could spend so much time in it, especially like a beloved world as a child, and now if I get to read it as an adult, that's kind of fun. Next up on April 22nd, we have When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, who is an auto-buy author from me. If you like horror books, if you like my taste in books, definitely try his work. I think it's very good. One night, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, I like blood, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. Oh, crap. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying incidents of butchery follow them. At first, Jess thinks she understands what they're up against, but she's about to learn there's more to these surreal and grisly events than she could have ever imagined, and that when the wolf finally comes home, none will be spared. I'm very excited for this one. It's got a tagline of a mystery, werewolves, obviously the wolf aspect, Halloween, paranormal. I think this is going to be really good. I just know that he disturbs me with his writing so well. He does atmosphere so well. His conversations and the stories are always well done. I really enjoy Nat Cassidy's work. Everything I've read from him has been a hit for me, so very excited to give this one a go. On April 29th, we have Broken Souls and Bones by LJ Andrews. I get questions about what this book is all the time, the one with the ship, and that's a special edition of The Everking by LJ Andrews. It's stunning, and I loved it, so I'm very excited to read a new series from her. I think this is separate than the world that one's in. She has 2 series within that same world. I believe this one is separate, but don't quote me on that. Together, they'll restore a divided kingdom or burn it down. Sold. I'm easy to please. It does not take much. Lyra intended to live a quiet life, trying to avoid the attention of the magic-obsessed king in the Fortress of Stonegate, until Rowick Ashwood, the prince's silent guard and rumored killer for the crown, invades her village and uncovers the truth behind the silver scars in her eyes. To save her best friend from death, she's forced to reveal her abilities, and is immediately claimed by the crown as the next Melder. To be the king's Melder is to be revered and feared in equal measure, but above all, it is a slow death sentence. Lyra is determined to find a way to free herself and her friends from bondage, but first she must get more information from the silent, brooding sentry who first took her captive, Rowick. Is this a bodyguard romance? Did I not know that this was a bodyguard romance? Am I getting an LJ Andrews bodyguard romance? That sounds so good. As Lyra gets closer to Rowick, she soon learns he's nothing like she assumed. Aren't they all? And in fact, everything she needs. The more they work as allies, the harder it becomes to ignore the growing passion between them. After a sinister truth is revealed, Rowick and Lyra must choose to stand against all they know or accept their dark destiny. This sounds good. I'm excited. Sometimes I don't read synopsis for things, especially like authors that I love. Sometimes I just put them on the list and then I'm reading them for the first time here and I get so shocked. So on April 29th, we also have Enigma by Runix. This is the same author as Gothicana. It's a new breathtaking tale of unforgettable romance set in a dark academia world of secret societies, lush suspense, and sizzling sensuality. That sounds so good to me. Salem Salazar comes to Mortimer University to get to the bottom of her sister's mysterious death, and she discovers there's been a lot more deaths on the campus since she's obsessed with forensics. Her search leads her down a dark, dangerous path to a secret society and to Kaz. Casimir Vanderwall is in her way and is another mystery to unravel. Is he just an art student, a man living a double life, or a murderer? That's a secret I'll never tell. While also at the university seeking answers for another death, Kaz has a lot more to him than meets the eye. Secret forces are at play and no one is safe. This sounds so good. Dark academia, sparks will fly, rivals will become lovers, and terrible secrets will be unleashed. Oh look, we're done April. On May 6th, we have Overgrowth by Mira Grant, another horror author that I just love, another sci-fi horror. Annihilation meets Day of the Triffids in a full-on body horror alien invasion apocalypse. This is gonna be unhinged. It's gonna be great. This is just a story. It can't hurt you anymore. Since she was 3 years old, Anastasia Miller has been telling anyone who would listen that she's an alien disguised as a human being, and that the armada that left her on Earth is coming for her. Since she was 3 years old, no one has been willing to listen. And now, with an alien signal from the stars being broadcasted around the world, humanity is finally starting to realize that it's already been warned, and it may be too late. The invasion is coming, Stasia's biological family is on the way to bring her home, and very few family reunions are willing to cross the gulf of space for just one misplaced child. What happens when you know what's coming and just refuse to listen? That sounds so good. Why do these all sound so good? I need to keep that streak going. I need to read more. Get that reading streak up to like 100. Also on May 6th, we have Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. Fear the Monsters We Make, a spoon-worthy, spicy romantic fantasy filled with legends and monsters. The Witcher meets Cinderella. A princess is chosen to fulfill the terms of an ancient treaty and finds herself traveling with an infamous monster slayer. That's all we know about this one, but it sounds good. I have been in my retelling phase for some reason. On May 13th, we have A Curse Carved in Bone, which is the sequel in the Saga of the Unfated series by Daniel L. Jensen. I'm excited to see what happens in this one. A shield maiden fights to break the shackles of prophecy is all I'm going to read to you since this is a sequel. It is Norse mythology, and I really enjoyed book one. I love Danielle L. Jensen as a writer, so I'm very excited to continue on in this series and read more from her and see exactly what our characters get up to. On May 13th, we also have This Vicious Dream by Stasia Stark, another author that I love and have read from before, so I don't think I've actually read the synopsis yet. This is a fantasy romance. Once, I helped save a kingdom. Now I'm trapped in a prison of thorns and nightmares. My crime? Knowing the location of a power that could reshape the world. A grimoire I swore to protect with my life. That secret is the only thing keeping me alive while my captors wait for me to break. Until he arrives. Beautiful, ruthless, dark, inscrutable eyes. A dangerously wicked grin. But he's not here to rescue me. He wants the grimoire for himself, and he'll destroy anyone who stands in his way. My only choice is a fragile, temporary alliance with a man I can never trust, because there's more at stake than a stolen grimoire or an ancient grudge. And behind his mask of effortless allure, he's hiding something far more dangerous than a thirst for power, something that could destroy us all. I love how Stasia writes, like even that synopsis feels really good, and I expect there to be really good banter. Of course, This Cruel and Lovely just had the best banter, so I'm very excited for this one. one. I think it's gonna be good. Then on May 20th, we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, who is the author of One Dark Window, which is a very atmospheric, dark, gothic fantasy. It had a very unique magic system, so I'm very excited to see what this world building and magic is in this one. It's a gothic, mist-cloaked tale of a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with the one knight whose future is beyond her sight. So obviously she's like a seer of some kind. I am excited to try this. I think lots of us are excited to try it. It's going to be, I think, very atmospheric. I think gothic fiction is in. I think that gothic is really coming back. I'm seeing a lot of us like it and read it. I'm seeing the trend of it being picked up quite a bit. I think that gothic is really going to be very current. Not that it's ever out. Like, sometimes when I say that, I think people think that it's like an insult or like people weren't reading it before. Every genre, every like thing people are reading, but sometimes they become popular and trendy, and I think that that's what I'm saying when I say it's in, is that it's trendy right now. Obviously, some people have always loved gothic. Some people have always loved romantasy, but romantasy is trending currently. It is selling more than it ever has, and I think we're gonna see gothic do that as well currently. Ooh, the next one I'm very excited for. I think Rachel from Ravenhaired Reader has already read this and gave it a good review, and so that has me really excited. But on May 27th, we have A Fate Forged in Fire by Hazel McBride. I love this cover. I think it's very stunning. And yes, Rachel gave it 4 stars. She says stabby, angry, vengeful, bisexual FMC, and brooding, self-loathing, super hot MMC, and dragons, and betrayal. I will lie awake thinking about this. I guess we all need to read it, if Rachel says so. I'll leave Rachel's channel link down below. To become the first queen in centuries, a powerful, blessed blacksmith must use her wits and fire magic to overthrow the corrupt powers ruling her kingdom. I love overthrowing a kingdom, while also fighting her growing desire for one of her dragon-riding adversaries. I love fighting growing desires, and I love dragons. In this first book of a sizzling Celtic-inspired fantasy romance duology, I love fantasy romances duologies. I love when they're duologies. Once a territory built on matriarchal rules and values, Taiyu has since grown frail from a long line of fruitless kings, the most recent of which have ruled under influence of the True Religion, an oppressive group who has steadily poisoned the region with their anti-magic teachings. Born to rule and blessed by fire, Amira has begrudgingly lived in hiding rather than risk her life in court, waiting in anticipation for the current king's death so she can bond to his dragon, claim her throne, and protect her people. But when the king dies and Amory is ready to take what is rightfully hers, her ambitious plan is foiled and she is thrust into a game of vicious politics and plots. These are all buzzwords. Like, this is sounding so good. Her biggest adversary is Prince Florian, a dragon rider and one of the most powerful fire wielders in the territory. Cold, arrogant, and blindly supportive of his corruptive family, he is everything she despises. But as chaos engulfs the court and they find themselves reluctantly entwined, forced to forge an uneasy alliance, one that quickly ignites into something more dangerous than either expected. Behind enemy lines and slowly falling for her so-called adversary, Emeria uncovers just how far the rot of corruption has spread and what she may have to sacrifice to claim her throne. They all sound so good, but this one sounds extra good. I need it. I don't add to my want to read very often, but I'm doing that. Well, we can move on to June. On June 3rd, we have Fallen Gods by Rachel Van Dyken, which is also a duology. The legends of the past are never truly dead and buried. Love that. It's a steamy, dramatic myth retelling. What myth is it retelling? I'm intrigued. Liv Olson has been drawn to Norse mythology her entire life. After earning her degree and working as a curator of one of New York's most prestigious museums, she gets an unexpected offer of her dream job in Norway, the same place her brother disappeared months ago, after a cryptic message about finding their long-lost father. She finds herself surrounded by superstitious townspeople who refuse to even look at the water. Liv soon realizes that the small town of Vaughn is nothing like it seems. Heard that one before. Shops seem to close before dark, and things only read about seem to suddenly exist. To top it off, her new boss, Tristan, is insultingly mean and engagingly beautiful, and as part of her job, she must live with him in his mansion. Forced proximity? As her life quickly unravels into chaos, she's left wondering who's pulling the strings in this mysterious place, where nothing makes sense yet everything feels familiar. Her studies have always told her the gods are who you trust, but what happens when the man who's destined to kill you is your savior? I'm intrigued. On June 5th, we have The Forgotten Dawn by Laura A. Blake. I also like this cover. I think it's really pretty. Where lies are currency, the price of truth is blood. That tagline! Tell me that's not good. Bryda Lero has no right to be among the Fae courts, but she's willing to risk everything to save her dying father. Armed with a forged invitation and a fierce determination, she enters the treacherous Fae trials. I love myself a trial. Last time I did one of these, like, every single book had trials in it, so I think it's fun just to see the trends. A deadly contest crafted to break even the strongest Fae. One misstep and the truth of her identity could be her undoing and cost her the cure she so desperately needs. With enemies around every corner, she must rely on her wits and cunning to survive, but when Danon, the enigmatic Prince of Shadows, takes notice of her, the stakes grow even higher. Betrothed to her most dangerous rival and a master of secrets himself, Danon sees through her every deception. His dark allure stirs something within her. I don't know what that something is. Speaking of forbidden attraction that could either ruin her or become her greatest weapon. Caught in a web of deception and desire, she walks a fine line between ambition and survival in a world where alliances shift like shadows and betrayal is the currency of the courts. She must find the strength to face not only the ruthless trials but also the dangerous emotions awakened within her. One wrong move could doom her to failure or reveal a side of herself she never knew existed. It's an epic fantasy romance with rich world building, slow burn chemistry, and pulse-pounding action, perfect for fans of Fourth Wing, Throne of Glass from Blood and Ash, and A Court of Thorns and Roses. I mean, that was someone just using all the most popular names. I like a good comp. I don't like when authors just throw in, like, every single popular romantasy into their synopsis. Like, oh, you liked all of these, you're gonna like this. Because Fourth Wing, Throne of Glass from Blood and Ash, and Court of Thorns and Roses are all very different. Even though I enjoyed them all, they are all very different. June's got some goodies. On June 10th, we have Realm of Thieves by Karina Halley. I'm very, very excited for this one. Two thieves vie for dominance in the illegal dragon egg trade. They're stealing dragon eggs. Incredible. Putting both their lives and their hearts on the line in this scorching romantasy. For Brynla, crime and survival have always gone hand in hand. Ever since she escaped the fanatical dragon worshipping cult that controls her homeland, she's had to carve out life doing the stealing dragon eggs. All of a cult. Egg theft is illegal and in most cases fatal. To breach a dragon's nest means a harrowing journey through the ancient woods, spelled to keep the monstrous beast confined. Dragons can't get out and only those with a death wish can get in. That's so intriguing. Despite the risk, dragon eggs are highly coveted for their magic. A black market flourishes under competing criminal empires, and Brynla's loyalty has always been to the highest bidder. Until she finds herself kidnapped and blackmailed by Lord Andor, a formidable lieutenant of House Kolbeck, and thrust into the dangerous political games of rivaling dynasties. Politics, I love. Brynla and Andor clash at every turn. I expect good banter, sparking heat in ways Brynla never felt before, but in a world that's prophesied to return to the dragons and rife with betrayal and secrets at every turn, how close to the flames is she willing to stand? Just burn, girl, just burn. You'll be better off. Just burn. This sounds so good. I love this. I love the concept. I just read A Ship of Bones and Teeth by this author, and I thought that was really, really well written and atmospheric, so I'm very, very excited for this one. Another cover I absolutely think is stunning is A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena, which we're getting also on June 10th. A debut fantasy romance filled with hope after heartbreak, secrets and betrayals, as a dancer turned spy must decide how far she will go to secure her freedom. I love a good dancer turned spy. That sounds interesting. My protector is gone, revealed to be a monster, but I remind myself that I'm not a damsel. I'm no princess bound within a tower. That sounds so good. They all sound so good. I am a shadow. Visalia Moran was once a dancer in King Ilian's court until he framed her for murder. Barely surviving her 2 years in the dungeons, she's suddenly called to face her king. He offers her a deal: become his spy at the 6-week royal gathering and he'll grant her freedom. I'm definitely seeing some Throne of Glass inspiration here, but I think that it's a little different and I'm intrigued to see how it's different. As Ilian's order grow bloody and dangerous, forcing her to harm and betray those around her, Vasily discovers that the monster she serves may be aligned with a bigger monster, one far closer to home. With her world threatened, Vasily enlists the help of Ilian's brother and greatest adversary, the infamous King of the East. As the rivalry between brothers escalates, with Vasily caught in the middle, the horrifying truth of her past comes to light. If she wants to survive, she must decide who to trust, who to fight for, and how much of her soul she's willing to damn in the process. It is also tagged as disability on Goodreads, so I'm hoping it has some disability rep in it, which would be really nice. This cover is gorgeous. I'm intrigued. It's a debut, so debuts are sometimes hard because I obviously have no expectations going in. Like, I could love the writing or I could not, but I'm very, very intrigued. Let me know which one of these you're most excited for, which one you hadn't heard of before, and if you have any for me that you're really excited about coming out in the next 3 months, I would love to know down below. I'm always looking to find new releases to love. If you made it all the way to the end of this video and you just like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me, is there a strawberry emoji? Leave me that. In case you missed it and you're still looking for some new releases, I will leave the last anticipated releases I did on the screen for you to check out, and have yourselves an an absolutely remarkable day.